Good morning, Rebbe.
Right.
Uh, Allergies this morning. All right, so we're going to work over the what we've been before the tip of Kavanos and try to get through this section here. Now, this, like I said before, this is not an area that in halacha that I'm really not, spend a lot of time on. And I figure maybe you actually do. So I don't know if the comparison between what the Rav is saying here and other halachas that we find in the Shulchan Aruch, if they're matching, if they're different, I don't really know.
Uh,
Okay, so we're on page Shin Ches. So he says, and it says Yisbar Yosef Baruchas Inyan Anal. What was he talking about? Is it by Inyan who keep it Yosef b'mei imo? So the subject, I guess, was the concept of evil. To try to understand why I always did wonder what was the Eber in this, when they say the second Eber, I always wondered what was exactly the gestation over there. At any rate, he says, Lo choyaki im gimel kalilin begimel. So at that point, the original point of the first Eber is that the spheres are folded, gimel kalilin begimel. The Hainu Vav Zeira Shabbasoch Hey Rishona. So he says this is the small Vav next to the first Hey. So that means the child that is developing, I guess, in the womb of the hay. So that's the situation that you have here, is you have the vok there, or the vav that's folded, and then you have this pasil levar. So regel havov, which is like a foot, a little extension of the vav. Kumaboretz lino, parshas balak. Then if you hit a bihiyosa nook sham, so the fact that the nook is there, in other words, the Pasil Bar, they call Echav Hululim and Azatz. It means that every one of them, these six or these three, are composed of seven. Shehem Havak, this is the normal Zeran Pin, Vahamalchus, which is attached to it, which is the Zion, Besofa Genizka. But since there's only three of them, because even though they're six, but they're folded, gimel pamim seven. So therefore, it's three times seven. There are seven spheros. V'hein gematria kaf aleph iskaros, and they make 21 iskaros there. Then now you have that's how you got the 21. Three on each line, three lines, and each one of it has seven in it. The fish sham koyubime ima, because at this time it was still in the womb of Ima. Sham Yoser, and they were very high quality at this point, are very, maybe it means very transparent. Adakos, and it was ultimately very, very fine. And he's got a string of these words here. So he says Mu'ulim, he says Betachlis Adakos, and then he said Bebechinis Mochin. So that seems to be the Mochin is something very transparent. The Hiyosim Toch Ima at the point where they're inside of Ima, but Lechain, Nirmaz Bebechinis Askaras Bahavayas. So therefore you have a reference to the concept that you're going to have the Havayas in there. If they're going to come out to be 21 of them, seven for each line. V'ininios adalad parshas who achashan noldo of the yatsa the chutz. So the concept of them becoming four parshios, which he had said they're four mochim, different kinds of comparisons to four. And it's parshat al vok shalemim. So then these four are spread into the vok and the complete vok. Vaz hamalchus chosses Zion the Rebbe, and then as we said previously, the malchus is number seven. Vaz nok ein b'chabarak beis mochim belbad kanaidas. At this part she only is a chub. And she gets her mochin from the vok. V'chadalin and disharim in the vav. So now that's two pieces that she's able to get from the vok. So she has mochin, two mochin. But what about the other six? Excuse me, the other six, four. You got to get it out there. The other four that are left over from the six, she used two. But what about the other four? Haim nisharim as their anpin atzma. They remain as their anpin. Ogenegdamim Dalin Parshios, and then corresponding to those four that are left over, here's another way we see four. These are the four parshas, Keneged Shem Avaya, they correspond to the name Avaya. Ki Shem Ekia Enu Nirmaz El Bebechidas Iver Kanisker. So it's only, he says that the Ekia, so this is how you have Ekia, Avaya, Ekia, that you need to have a space in between them, and which is not part of the ekib. It's not part of that. Let's see what else. By Indian, he yosim dalad batim. So now here we have the Indian with there being actually four different chambers. Who can nega the iver of a base the mochin the and he's talking about the chambers they go into. Then we're talking about the second mochin. This is the mochin the gadlus. Ki oz Hazara od Ima episode Eber. So then Ima goes back, and she goes back into an Eber stage. In other words, she becomes impregnated again. But Nazlan Dalan Mochen the Zer Anpin, and that's when she gives the four Mochen the Zer Anpin Shehem Kachbad. Oh, you could call him Chub. Okay, turn speaker on. Okay, fancy phone. Okay, so he says Shehem Kachbad O Yehiyahub. Oh, they become Mochen. The das kolum base. So then you could say kachbad. You could either say that it's chabad, which has two parts of its das. O chub u base itrin das. So this is different languages that we could use to talk about the same thing. Shehem chub, which are chesad and the gevuros. Behem kenegedal and ozias akia, and we can line them up next to the words to the name akia. Amora al zaman the Iber Kanisker, which really talks about the time of Iber. So let's go on. The Niralias died the Shimat the Marizal, Tam Elki Yose Iber Hosheni Hazeh. So the reason why we call this a second Iber, I guess, Nikra B'Shem Akia, and I'll read again. Tam Elki Yosa Iber Hosheni Hazeh, Nikra B'Shem Akia. So why is the second one called an Akia too? So Akia is the female aspect. The Fisher Kevin Shuhuba B'Chinas Ivor, because it's in gestation. So then what happens is that the seven kitzvos come together. Mechesed ad malchus, v'nechlalo kol hazayin b'sod gimel zimnim zayin. They all come together and they make 3 lines of 7. The same thing happens over here. So therefore, it's also an ekia, because ekia apparently means gestation of putting what the elements together into together. Shahu kafala. So 3 times 7 is kafala. Shahim gimel pam im shivukanisker, and so that becomes 7 times 3, and that's your 21 again, which is ekia, and we see that ekia is developing. So I guess the idea of putting the 6 together with putting the 6 plus 1 together into 3 lines is the concept of gestation. Batami Yosel Nirmas Badal Batim. Now, why do we have 4? So we have 4 parshas, we have 4 batim, but now we're talking about the batim. Below Badal parshas Shehim Mochim Atzman. So he said the reason why we're talking about the batim and we're not talking about the parshas themselves. Originally, Ima was not a bias. What does that mean? But she was just mochim. So now she actually, I guess that maybe that's a continuation of the same idea. She puts them together and she incorporates them, and that becomes like a bias. Commotion is this has been explained or will be explained. Gama Indian who ki kuvarhu daticho ki mochim elo edim me'ima levada. So the mochim actually don't come from Eva by herself. Alishahem kalulim ma'ava, but they have both Abba and Ima. Rishum tatavaychu kahad sharyan la'olim, because there's never a time when they're not together. Being came nimsiki arba mochim de Ima. So when we say the 4 mochim of Ima, nasim arba bechinas batim, they become 4 concepts of batim. El Arba Mochin the Abba. So the batim, I'm not sure if this is a concept that we want to say the reason why we have the batim is because we also have an Abba here. I'm not sure what he means. Ki arba mochim de'ima na'asim arba bechinas batim. So the mochim become the batim, and they become the batim for, I hear, there it is now, el arba mochim the abba panimi de'ima, and so therefore she becomes his vessel. Ki ima buys the abba, that's who she is, v'havenze. So therefore it's referenced in that name, Akia, which is in Ema. Let's go on a little bit. He says, Va'inyan hiyos b'tefilin shal rosh. So let's go over here. The little blurb says, Tam shetefillin shal rosh yesh lo arba shitim. So what they have four, what are the tefillin of rosh have 4 rows. Now, obviously, he's playing with the numbers 4. He's playing the number 3 and 7. So over here we have 4 rows. Va'inyan hiyos b'tefilin shal rosh arba shitim. Mifnei shal mochim heim arba, because the mochim themselves are 4. Because echad kol mekulam, and each one of them has all the rest of in it. But the chain called parsha kolula arba shitim. So therefore, for I guess the 4 with the 4 within it is the reason why we have 4 lines. So tam sheyesh kaf alav askaros b'tefillah shel yad. So why do you need 21 different askaros in the tefillah shel yad? V'yin the tefillah shel yad. Are you still there, Rabbi? Hello? It wasn't there. Let's go back here. Where are we? Here. Here we go. Okay, got us back again. Now we're on the one that says Tom Shiesh. What do you have? Why do you need 21 askaros b'tefillah shayad? That's exactly what he means here. Tefillah shayad. Let's talk about it. Hine kaf alav askaros shebehem. There's 21 different mentions, notations of the name Havaya. Hey, mamish al derek should be b'tefillah sharosh. It's the same as what we said up above. Gam hanok kolulu mikol hazayin gam gimel zamayim. Because when we talk about the nok, which represents the arm tefillin or the hand tefillin, she says she's also has 3 lines, and so therefore gam came hanok kolulu mikol hazayin. So she has in other words, she has a vok and a malchus. Gimel zimnim 3 different times, so she has 3 lines. So therefore, you see, she follows the same rules. Inyan dalad now inyan dalad parshios, but the Tefillin shall yad. Let's go over now. We're in the Tefillin to yad. Inyan dalad parshios who b'mashanitis. So the inyan of this is in what we know. Kitrin mochim the law. She has 2 mochim. Heim netzach and hod the duchura. Her 2 mochim correspond to. She's on the backside as their anpen. I suppose that's what he means. They come from his netzach and hod. Because echem bechem kolu mishnayim, and each one of them has 2 within it. Now, so what does he mean by that? The fisha shenakeva naaz is ma'akre netzach and hod zeranpen, because she's made behind zeranpen. Hanikra portrayed pal gegufa, which is called 2 halves of a body. So nekeva atzman nechlechas gam ki ma'acharecha. So on her back, she's also divided. The base pal gegufa that her, or best apparently her netzach and hod are split. Harehem arba, that makes 4. So he said 4 halves. She's a split. She's a netzach hod, I guess, just like he is a netzach hod. So she's getting from his netzach hod. So you have 4. Connected arba parshiot, be a parshiot saddle, and you could tie that over to the 4 parshiot. So let's go to the next one. He says, Tam shetefillin shel yad eno ela bayis echad. So why do we have 4 batim up above and only 1 down below? And so he puts a reason on it. That he yosim kuna b'bayis echad v'vadach damo. The fish shekevin shehem b'sod palgim. Since they're the concept of splits, they're all divided. Nimsa sh'ar ba'atzam eno rak echad bilbad. So exactly how they got this thought, I'm not sure. He says that the 4 halves, he says, you find that since we know they're split, they're really only 1. So this would be Malchus at its base, but I'm not sure that I understood the metaphor, so we'll go on. Tam shetefillin shal yad yesh lo zayin shitim. The reason why the tefillin yad would have 7 rows, Binyan Yos Zion Shittim B'Tefilu Shayadhu. Jihinecha B'Trin Mochin the Nukva, said the Nukva. So let's say the two Mochin and Nukva became Netzach Hod Ganaz. So they come from the Netzach and Hod of Zer Anpin, and he's calling them Netzach and Hod. Jihinecha B'Hitzaricha the Kabbalah Ara, but she needs light. Gan Mitachidas Rashis and Mochin the Zah B'Baila Baila Didor. So she needs to receive Mochin from Zer Anpin. The Dalit Mochin delay, so his four Mochin, Va'od Chagat delay, and also his Chagat, Hare Hain Zion, there's a 7 right there. I don't see the connection necessarily. Because from the top, from the Chagat, is where the light flows down into the Netzach and Hod. And according to that, correspond to that, there were 7 different rows. Now, so he says, the Inyan Hamarva, pronounce it Ma'arvata. So he said, the Inyan Ma'arvata, he says, and that's apparently that channel through which the straps flow through. So he said, the Inyan Ma'arvata of Shalda Tefillin, who sewed Gimel, Shemos, and Niskarim, Shehem, Aki, Arabaya, Adni. So we have been using these 3 names. Now, he says the passageway is that concept that these names will be flowing through it, these letters. Now, if you add those up together, you got Yavuk, which is a concept of fording a stream or a passageway. So the Avar as Ma'avar Yavuk, and that's the concept of Avar. Ma'arvata is the concept of passing through or bringing the Mochin down. Now, he might be teaching me something about Ritzuos. I really don't know anything about the Ritzuos. He might be telling me something about there are passageways down below. I don't know because they go around the back. So, well, they start at the back, but they go around the front. So let's see. So then this is actually a ma'aver for Shafa. Okay, we're back here. Let's see, I'll stop looking at where I was. So we went through the Ma'avatah. So now let's go to the next one. The next one is called the Inyan Dalad Klofin, Shakorchim Bechem parshiot Tefillin. So you use these Klofim, I guess, I'm not sure what he means exactly. Where you have the 4 parshios separately, he says there are 4 different cloths that are used. By Inyan the Dalad Klofim Levanim, so he says they're white, it's white cloth. Shakorchim Bechem parshios. You bind the parshios to this. I'm not sure what he means by korchim. Nizbar bebrach birchas Abbas to Rosh Hashanah Ayin Sham. That's explained in another place. So what happens by putting on the tefillin? How does it help zon? So they're always mochin. Bein bezecha bein benukva. Amnam ma'inyan who, but what we want to say is ki kodem l'nachos tefillin before you put them on. Oz yesh the zecha b'mochin bebechinas ruach. He has mochin of the zah's ruach. Ki kain zah hu ruach. Oz yesh the nukva bechinas nefesh. So at that point that he's a ruach, she's a nefesh. Ki kain nukva I nefesh. Avacha ba'acha anachos tefillin, but now you put the tefillin on. Oz yesh the zah mochin bebechinas the shama. So this is the mochin that are coming from Ima, which is the level of the shama. But nukva bebechinas ruach, and it makes the nukva into bechinas ruach. So he said, "V'niralineas daiti ki edocha anikroyim rucha." Those that are called ruach, heim mochin the yanika. So that also would go together. That's when zeranpin is a state of a vok. Shehem kalim and se'im kanoida, which he says the rucha is the concept of the middle kalim in se'im. Not sure exactly how that goes. Because what is in between Bria and Asiya. I don't know exactly how it's called Emseim. So he says, Sham is boyer gam came Kiddush Hashem be'ez aksiva. So what is that? Is the Kiddush Hashem or Kiddush the letter Hey? I don't know which. Gam kashikosev shem avaya. Now you're writing the name avaya. Oz kodem sheyichtavo. So before you start writing, Yikadesh it's Hashem kababrushona kadas halacha. Before you start writing, you should be mekadesh the name of Hashem. So he says, going on a little bit more. Ksivas os yod m'shem avaya. Now he's going to go through the actual writing of the letters in the Kavanot for different letters. And if you were a sofer and you could get even a little teeny weeny bit of this, it would be unbelievable. Os yud. And notice he spells the yud out, but he means just plain yud. Yikavan shenechlekas the shlosha kavim. We see that it's divided into three different lines. Vehin kochel. So he wants to say that actually represent kochel. V'chem nechlalim kol the yud sefiros. And in these three, you have all the 10. Va'avor shachakesser kolu kol kavim soy. And how do we know this? We know this because the kesser is really all the whole, within it, the whole middle line. Shehem kesser, Pharis, Yisod. V'chachachma kolu kol kav yamen, which is chachma chesed netzach. Bina kololu kol kav small, shehem bina gevura hod. Malchus kololu says kulam, and like that, and ultimately Malchus gets them all. Let's kind of mess that page up a little bit. Okay, we have one more. Kesivas os hey rishona b'shem avaya. So now you're writing the hey because there are 21 different times you have to do this. So he says, so he goes os hey. When you write the letter hey, yikavin el chochma b'yichud ima bina. This is what you should think of. That chochma is actually inside of bina. What's a yichud? Over chamishis sha'arecha, and with her, I don't know, the chamishis sha'arecha mucholechus b'chagad netzachot. So if you, I guess, if you, I'm not sure what sha'arecha means, but in the dividing up her gates into 5, it comes out to be chagad no. So he said, Yisod kololam, and Yisod joins them all together, then knows them ala malchus, and then ultimately gives them to malchus. That's the kavana you're supposed to have for the hey rishona. And there's one more. Oshakosiv ozvav, Yekavin the chaganai. I think I lost the rabbi. Yekavin the chaganai, so we'll stop right here, see if the rabbi comes back, but that's it, really. Okay, that was an involuntary hang up at the right time. You want to stop here?
Okay.
Okay, bye. Hold on. Okay.